Welcome to The American Story. Stories about what it is that makes America beautiful. Heartbreaking, funny, inspiring, and endlessly interesting. This is Chris Flannery with the Claremont Institute. I call this one A Decent Respect. The real American Revolution, as John Adams said, took place in the minds and hearts of the American people in the years leading up to 1776. This revolution of thought gave birth to a revolution of words and deeds. And revolutionary thought, word, and deed together became the American founding, a human event unsurpassed in the history of the world. With the aid of the divine source of all blessings, this founding remains eternally the earthly source of all America's blessings of liberty. It is also America's eternal earthly measure of itself. So long as there are to be Americans in the world, the American founding must take place again and again in the minds, hearts, and lives of succeeding generations. The wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation of the founders is always there for us to make our own. We need only ask, and we shall receive. Listen, and we shall hear. One small but essential part of that founding was the thought the revolutionaries expressed in the Declaration of Independence, that a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that the Americans should declare the causes which impel them to their revolution. Declaring the causes of their actions, giving reasons for them, was an act of respect for the opinions of mankind because it treated mankind as if their opinions could respond to reasons. This was a hopeful view of the human condition. It did honor to human nature and imposed expectations on human capacities. The first cause of the revolution, and the first one the revolutionaries respectfully declared, was the self-evident truth that all men are created equal. That is, that all men everywhere and at all times possess by nature equal rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This central idea was, in Abraham Lincoln's words, a standard maxim for free society, which should be familiar to all, revered by all, constantly looked to, constantly labored for, and even though never perfectly attained, constantly approximated, and thereby constantly spreading and deepening its influence and augmenting the happiness and value of life to all people of all colors, everywhere. If we're going to understand the significance of the American Revolution and partake of that revolution in our lives, we must remind ourselves that when the American revolutionaries declared this self-evident truth, the idea seemed self-evidently untrue to the hereditary monarchs and hereditary aristocracies of Europe. To the rest of the world, it was simply unheard of. So America showed its first respect for the opinions of mankind by disagreeing with practically all of them. This took great courage. In the same breath, the revolutionaries told the peoples of the world how they might show greater respect for themselves by recognizing and asserting the rights of their own humanity. Every self-respecting man or woman would want to govern himself rather than to be treated like a child, needing someone else to govern him. Americans were keenly aware how difficult it would be to live up to the principle they were proclaiming, how heroic and continuous an effort would be required of themselves or any people that aspired to rise to equality. This very difficulty is part of what makes it an act of self-respect and an act of respect to others, to invite them to join us in what James Madison called the honorable determination to rest all our political experiments on the capacity of mankind for self-government. Any people that wishes to be free, including the Americans, will have to demonstrate this capacity for themselves and continue to demonstrate it each generation. This is why America will always be an experiment than which nothing could be more beneficial to all concerned or more honorable to human nature. Because self-government, the true and real pursuit of happiness, requires the active exercise of all the human virtues to the highest degree. The American experiment claims to be a glorious experiment because it aims for the first time in human history to make actual this potential for self-government, this capacity to pursue true happiness for themselves that we Americans insist human beings have by nature. This is what the founders meant when they soberly and by no means arrogantly reflected on the fact that it seems to have been reserved to the people of this country by their conduct and example to decide the important question whether societies of men are really capable or not of establishing good government from reflection and choice. The greatest respect Americans can show for the opinions of mankind, and the greatest benefit they can bestow upon themselves, is to continue to take responsibility for being the kind of self-governing people we invite all people to be. Thanks for being part of the American Story. This is Chris Flannery with the Claremont Institute. The American Story podcast is made possible through listener donations. If you'd like to support the production of more stories, please visit theamericanstorypodcast.org and click Donate. By visiting theamericanstorypodcast.org, you'll also find that each episode has resources for you to explore. That's theamericanstorypodcast.org.